It doesn't begin with pain. It doesn't begin with a diagnosis. It begins quietly, in the early hours of the morning, when your body is at its most vulnerable and your kidneys are working under the highest strain of the entire day. Because while you're asleep, something changes. Your body goes hours without fluid. Your blood becomes slightly thicker. Waste products begin to concentrate. And your kidneys, these two small organs no bigger than your fists, are forced to filter all of it with less support than they actually need. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. What you do in the first 10 minutes after waking up can either reduce that stress or make it worse. There is a very specific type of drink, one that most people have never been taught to use correctly, that can change how your kidneys handle that pressure. Not by forcing them, but by supporting how they were designed to work in the first place. But the real reason this works has nothing to do with what most people think of as detox. And that's exactly where people get misled. Before we break that down, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Marcus Evans, a medical doctor and physician. And on this channel, my goal is simple: to explain what's actually happening inside your body in a way that makes sense, without exaggeration, without confusion, so you can make better decisions before small problems turn into serious ones. If that kind of clear, practical health insight matters to you, consider subscribing. It helps the channel reach more people who are trying to take control of their health early, not after something goes wrong. Now, let's come back to what's happening inside your body right now. Your kidneys are not passive organs. They are active filters. Every minute, they process your blood, removing waste, balancing fluids, regulating electrolytes, and helping control blood pressure. Think of them like a highly efficient filtration system. But even the best filtration system has limits. And every single day, most people unknowingly push those limits, starting with their very first habit in the morning. Because here's the truth. When you wake up, your body is not in a neutral state. It's in a slightly stressed, dehydrated, and concentrated state. That's normal. That's expected. But what happens next is what determines whether your kidneys recover or fall further behind. Most people reach for one of three things: coffee, sweetened drinks, or just plain water. And while that may seem harmless, none of those actually solve the underlying issue. In fact, in some cases, they quietly make it worse. Coffee, especially on an empty stomach, can increase fluid loss before your body has even rehydrated. Sugary drinks spike glucose and create additional metabolic waste your kidneys now have to process. And plain water, while helpful, lacks something critical your body needs in that moment. That missing piece is exactly why hydration alone is not enough. Because your kidneys don't just need water, they need the right balance of fluid and minerals to actually process and eliminate waste effectively. Without that balance, something subtle begins to happen. Your body holds onto fluid instead of distributing it properly. Filtration becomes less efficient. Waste removal slows down just slightly at first. Not enough for you to feel, but enough to accumulate day after day. And this is how problems begin. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly. This is what we call silent strain. No symptoms, no warning signs, just gradual overload. And over time, that overload starts to show up in ways people don't immediately connect to their kidneys. Fatigue, mild swelling, changes in urination, even fluctuations in blood pressure. But by the time those signs appear, the process has already been happening for a while. And this is where that morning habit becomes so important. Because the first thing you drink doesn't just hydrate you. It sets the tone for how your kidneys will function over the next several hours. And this is where people get this completely wrong. They assume detox is about forcing the body to flush everything out. It's not. Your body already knows how to detox. The real question is, are you giving it the conditions to do it efficiently? Because there's a very specific combination. Simple, inexpensive, and almost overlooked, that changes how your body handles fluid, minerals, and waste right from the moment you wake up. And when that balance is right, something interesting happens. Your kidneys don't have to work harder. They work smarter. But to understand why that works, you need to see what's actually happening inside the body during those early morning hours and why timing matters more than the drink itself. And once you understand that, the next piece starts to make a lot more sense. Right now, think about this for a second. You go to sleep, and for the next 6 to 8 hours, your body continues working but without any new fluid coming in. No water, no minerals, no replenishment. But your kidneys don't stop. They keep filtering. They keep balancing. They keep removing waste from your blood the entire time. And as those hours pass, something very specific begins to happen inside your body. Your blood becomes slightly more concentrated. Waste products build up in higher amounts than during the day. And your fluid balance shifts. This is not dangerous by itself. It's a normal overnight process. But it creates a very important condition by the time you wake up. Your kidneys are now working in an environment that is less diluted and more demanding. And this is where timing starts to matter more than most people realize. Because the moment you wake up, your body is essentially waiting for a signal that tells it how to proceed. Should it continue conserving fluid, or should it begin flushing and rebalancing? That signal comes from what you drink. And here is where the misunderstanding begins. Most people believe that simply drinking water solves the problem. But here is the reality. Water alone enters the system, but it doesn't always distribute efficiently. Why? Because your body doesn't just move water based on volume. It moves water based on electrolyte balance. Electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and trace minerals act like regulators. They control how fluid moves between your bloodstream, your cells, and your organs. Without the right balance, something subtle but important happens. The water you drink doesn't get used as effectively as you think. Some of it passes through quickly. Some of it doesn't reach where it's needed most. And your kidneys are left doing more work with less efficiency. Now here's where it becomes even more interesting. When your kidneys begin filtering in this slightly dehydrated, concentrated state, they rely heavily on pressure gradients and differences in concentration that allow filtration to happen. But if the incoming fluid doesn't support that balance properly, filtration becomes less optimal. Not stopped, not broken, just less efficient. And that small drop in efficiency, when repeated every single day, creates cumulative strain. This is not something you feel immediately, but your body registers it. Over time, it shows up as slower waste clearance, subtle fluid retention, increased workload on filtration structures. And this is where your first drink becomes more than just a habit. It becomes a biological switch. It either helps restore balance or keeps your body in that stressed overnight state longer than necessary. Now here is where most routines quietly fail. Coffee. For millions of people, coffee is the first thing that enters the body in the morning. And while it feels energizing, it does something your kidneys don't need at that moment. It slightly increases urine production before proper hydration has occurred. In simple terms, it encourages fluid loss before your system has fully recovered. Then there are fruit juices. They seem healthy, natural, even refreshing. But many of them introduce a rapid sugar load into a system that is already concentrated. That sugar has to be processed, filtered, managed, balanced, which means your kidneys now have additional work right at the moment they should be recovering. And then there is plain water. Better than the other options, yes, but still incomplete. Because water without supporting minerals doesn't fully activate the fluid distribution your body actually needs. It hydrates, but not optimally. And this is the part almost nobody is told. Hydration is not just about how much you drink. It's about what that liquid carries with it. Because inside your body, fluid is never just water. It's a solution, a mix of minerals, electrolytes, and compounds that determine how that fluid behaves once it enters your system. And this is exactly where the right drink changes everything. Because when that first intake contains the right combination, something shifts. Fluid is absorbed more effectively. Distribution improves. Filtration becomes smoother. Your kidneys are no longer compensating. They are operating closer to their ideal state. And that's a completely different situation. But here's where things take a turn most people don't expect. Because not every healthy drink provides this effect. In fact, some popular options that are marketed as cleansing or detoxifying don't actually support this process at all. And one specific combination, simple but rarely used correctly, creates a completely different response inside the body. A response that directly supports how your kidneys handle pressure, fluid, and waste. And once you see what's inside that combination, the entire idea of morning detox starts to look very different. So now that you understand what's happening inside your body in those first moments after waking up, we can finally look at the part most people came here for, the drink itself. And this is where expectations usually go in the wrong direction. Because people assume it's something exotic, something expensive, or something heavily marketed as a detox solution. It's not. In fact, The power of this drink comes from something much simpler and much more specific. It's not just about what's in it. It's about how those elements interact with your body at that exact time of day. The core of it is this: a glass of water combined with fresh lemon juice and a very small pinch of natural mineral salt. That's it. But what matters is not the ingredients alone. It's what they do together inside your body, because each part plays a very different role. Let's break that down. First, the water. This is your base, your transport system. After several hours of sleep, your body needs fluid to begin restoring circulation, supporting filtration, and diluting the concentrated waste that has built up overnight. But water alone is passive. It enters the system, but it doesn't actively guide where it goes. That's where the second element comes in: lemon. Now, this is where people misunderstand things. Lemon is not detoxing your body in the way social media often claims. Your kidneys and liver already handle detoxification. What lemon does instead is support the environment those organs operate in. It provides compounds like citric acid that can help influence how minerals behave in the body. It also slightly stimulates digestive and metabolic pathways, which indirectly supports how fluids and nutrients are processed. And more importantly, it contributes to a subtle shift in how your body handles acidity and mineral balance. That may sound technical, but here's the simple version. It helps create a more favorable internal environment for filtration and fluid movement. But even that is not the most important piece. The real difference comes from the third element, the part almost everyone skips: a small pinch of natural mineral salt. Not table salt, not processed sodium, but mineral-rich salt that contains trace elements your body actually uses. And this is where the mechanism changes completely. Because when you add even a small amount of these minerals to water, something important happens. You're no longer just drinking water. You're drinking a balanced solution. And that solution changes how your body absorbs and distributes fluid. Instead of water passing quickly through your system, it is retained and directed more effectively. It reaches your bloodstream more efficiently. It supports cellular hydration more directly. And it gives your kidneys the electrolyte context they need to function smoothly. In simple terms, your body knows what to do with it. And this is where the synergy matters. Water provides volume. Lemon supports the internal environment. Mineral salt provides the electrical and chemical signals needed for proper fluid movement. Together, they create a completely different response than any one of them alone. And when this combination is consumed at the right time, right after waking up, it interacts directly with that overnight state we talked about earlier. Instead of your body staying in a slightly dehydrated, concentrated condition, it begins to shift. Gradually, smoothly. Your blood becomes better diluted. Filtration pressure stabilizes. Waste products begin moving more efficiently. And your kidneys are no longer compensating for imbalance. They're operating under better conditions. Now, here's something important. This is not a flush in the aggressive sense. It's not forcing your body to eliminate anything unnaturally. And that's exactly why it works. Because instead of pushing your system, it supports it. And when you support the system consistently, small improvements begin to add up. Better hydration, more stable energy, clearer fluid balance. Even subtle improvements in how your body handles waste over time. But this is where many people lose the benefit completely, because they either use the wrong amounts or they introduce small mistakes that cancel out most of the effect. And this is where things start to break down, because something as simple as timing, temperature, or even what you add to the drink can completely change how your body responds to it. And once you see how most people get this wrong, it becomes very clear why the results are so inconsistent. Now here is where everything either comes together or quietly falls apart, because the drink itself is only part of the equation. What actually determines whether it helps your kidneys or does almost nothing at all is how you use it. And this is exactly where most people go wrong. Not because the idea is bad, but because the execution is off in small ways that completely change the result. So let's make this very clear and practical. If you're going to use this properly, it needs to follow a simple structure. First, timing. This drink should be the first thing that enters your body after waking up. Before coffee. Before food. Before anything else. Why? Because your body is still in that overnight state we talked about earlier. Slightly dehydrated. slightly concentrated, ready to rebalance, and whatever you introduce at that moment becomes the starting signal for your system. If you drink this first, you guide your body toward hydration and filtration support. If you delay it or replace it with something else, you lose most of that advantage. Now, second quantity, you don't need anything extreme. A standard glass about 250 to 300 milliliters is enough. More is not better here, because the goal is not to flood your system, it's to activate balance. Too much liquid too quickly can actually dilute electrolytes and reduce the effect you're trying to create. Now, third composition. This is where precision matters more than people expect. You want fresh lemon juice, about half a lemon, a very small pinch of natural mineral salt, not a full teaspoon, not even close, just enough to provide trace minerals. And this is important. If you add too much salt, you shift the balance in the wrong direction. Instead of supporting hydration, you increase the workload on your kidneys. So this is not about more minerals equals better. It's about the right amount. Now, fourth temperature. Room temperature or slightly warm. Not ice cold, because cold liquids can slow down absorption slightly and create a mild shock response in the digestive system. You want your body to accept the drink easily, not react to it. Now, if you follow just those four elements, timing, quantity, composition, and temperature, you already get most of the benefit. But this is where the mistakes begin. And these mistakes are the reason many people try something like this and then say, it didn't do anything. Let's go through the most common ones. The first mistake is adding sugar. Honey, syrups, sweeteners, even natural ones. Because the moment you introduce sugar, you change the entire purpose of the drink. Instead of supporting filtration, you introduce a metabolic load your body now has to process. And your kidneys are right back to handling extra work at the exact moment they were supposed to recover. The second mistake is inconsistency. Doing it once, skipping a few days, coming back to it randomly. This is not a one-time effect. It's a cumulative signal. Your body responds to patterns, not isolated actions. So if you want to see any real difference, this needs to be something you do regularly, not perfectly, but consistently. The third mistake is doing it and then immediately canceling it out. For example, drinking this and then going straight to coffee within a few minutes. That reduces the benefit because now you're reintroducing a diuretic effect before your body has stabilized. Give it time. 10 to 15 minutes is enough. Let your body actually use what you just gave it. Now, the fourth mistake is expecting immediate, dramatic results. This is where expectations need to be grounded. This drink is not a miracle. It doesn't clean your kidneys overnight. What it does is much more important. It improves the conditions your kidneys operate in. And when those conditions improve even slightly, your body starts functioning more efficiently over time. So what should you expect? In the short term, within a few days to a week, you may notice better hydration, more stable energy in the morning, clearer urine. Nothing dramatic, but noticeable. Over longer periods, weeks to months, the effects are more subtle. Your body maintains balance more easily. Fluid regulation improves. The overall workload on your filtration system becomes more manageable. And this is the real point, because your kidneys are working for you every second of the day. They don't take breaks, they don't ask for attention, but they respond to how you treat them. And small daily habits, especially the ones you repeat without thinking, have a much bigger impact than most people realize. This is one of those habits. Simple, quiet, easy to overlook, but powerful when done correctly. And once you understand how something this small can influence such an important system, you start to see your daily routine differently. Because it's not about doing something extreme, it's about giving your body the right signals at the right time. If you found this helpful and you want more explanations like this, clear, practical, and grounded in how your body actually works, you can subscribe and stay connected. And if there's someone in your life who would benefit from understanding this earlier rather than later, consider sharing it with them. Because the sooner these small habits begin, the more they protect you over time.